Bonjour, mes enfants, partout. Welcome to Watch with Muvver. This is our storybook. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Once upon a time, 45,000 years ago, a geezer with a big head called Cro-Magnon lived in some caves with his mates, the Vandals, and a bunch of frogs called Frank. They lived together eating woolly mammoths and fiddling with their tools until one day, thousands of years later, a Chinese explorer called Chang Chen from China charged down a road made of silk, bumped into Cro-Magnon and his mates, and christened the land Europia. Europia grew and grew until it turned into 50 little countries with funny foreign names. Every year they all met up for a funny song contest and they marked themselves out of dues and gave each other nul point. Before you could say Maastricht, half of the little countries got themselves into a state and called themselves members. And if you don't know what a member is, ask a parent, guardian or carer to draw you a picture. Now, these members got rid of all their monies, the lira, the pesetas, the escudos and marks, who was an annoying little troublemaker from Prussia. They printed new money out of a fickle fibre called cotton, and voila, the euro was born. They had parties and exchanged treaties, and before you could say Brussels sprouts, 500 million Europeans were fishing, farming and shopping together in the common marketplace. "Get your lackinos, mate dear!" shouted the common marketeers in their common tongues, and the Europeans laughed all the way to the bank. So a Swedish philanthropist called Alf Nobel discovered dynamite and gave them a prize for keeping the peace. Now, the little Englanders didn't parlez-vous français or milas Hellenica or speak double Dutch. Nevertheless, lots of them still wanted to shop in the common marketplace, but being island people, they didn't fit in. For 45 years they quibbled and squabbled, argued and barged about the pros and cons of getting into bed with those European members. In the club, out the club, in the club, out the club. Those little islanders were argumentative, strong-minded, independent, forthright, passionate and practical. Unlike those poor Grecians, paellians or pizzerians and ice-binders who lived cheek by jowl and were altogether too emotional. Now, a lot of the islanders were afraid that Johnny Foreigner wanted to remove their feet, steal their pounds and make it impossible to get a bloody decent pint. But this didn't mean they couldn't be friends. To say they couldn't rub along with Johnny Foreigner would be fallacious, wouldn't it? And if you don't know what fallacious means, ask a parent, guardian or carer to draw you a picture. Now, the PM of Little England, David Cameron, also famous for sinking the Titanic, said, "We might well be bobbing around on our own in the Atlantic, but because we're flexible, we won't drown like Leonardo da Vinci or Kate Watsit, and that all the islanders should have their own special club card because they were special." Was Mr. Cameron being protective or superior? You choose. Now, Mr. Cameron said if he were given another film to direct but the players couldn't agree about the plot, he'd ask the audience to decide with a referendum. What is a referendum? That's a very good question and one that deserves an answer which we'll read about next time. This is where the story ends. Or does it? This is a modern democratic story where you choose the ending. Shall we do this together? Okay, let's pretend we're all little islanders. And David Cameron asks, when the bus leaves for the common marketplace, will you be in or out? You might get the wrong answer. Don't worry, because it might be the right answer, or what is sometimes called an unknown known. What is an unknown known? Well, an American called Rumpole from the Bailey once said, As we know, there are known knowns, things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns, things we know we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns, the things we don't know we don't know. Do you know what I mean? Was Mr. Rumper from the Bailey talking gobbledygook or bollocks? If you don't know the answer, you know what you can do. Via con dias bambini everywhere. Was it David Cameroon or Macaroon? Oh, I don't know, you fucking choose.